Okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Glenis Mendonça, and here with me in conversation is Dr. Prakash Parienkar. We'll refer to him as Prakash Parienkar here because I'm not interviewing here him as a professor, which he is at Goa University. He's the Vice Dean Research. And I am a professor at Kamal College for Women, Head of Department English. Let me introduce to you my tryst with this text and how it came about. I have done my PhD in Konkani fiction and English translation, and I had looked at many of Pariekar's stories in English translation, which were translated in the 80s by Vidya Pai, and they were an assorted lot in Goa today, in Goa Puri, which is a very prominent publication of Institute Menezes Braganza, and they were all scattered. So for researchers, it was a Herculean task to gather them together and to use them for my research work. It is there that I floated to Sir the idea, because my cabin was just a few doors ahead of his, and I floated the idea that why don't you put them all together, and it took quite a while, and he came up with this work in 2022 called Varsal. Varsal is the title story of his translation of Varsal itself, which is actually the annual drum festival in Sattari. Now Sattari is one place, one taluka in Goa, which is totally different from the other parts of Goa. Because they do not have the systems which we have here in other talukas. Okay, they have the Mokaso system. They do not have Brahmins as he's told, but they have the Gaunkars and the others, the lower castes. So there's a lot of casteism at a different level. And it's very prominent in this translation, The Bitter Fruit Tree, which got him a lot of publicity after he came through. Okay, so because this publication, do we need the mic? Because this publication is an assorted lot of the Varsal in Konkani, which won him the Sahitya Akademi Award. Of course, he had won the Sahitya Akademi Award for Igdi Bigdi Tigdi Tha, which is also translated into English by Vidya Pai. It's a children's play which has won him a popularity and the Sahitya Akademi Award, and it has been translated into Hindi as well as Ikki Bikki Tikki Tha. Okay, so it's very well creatively translated, and so he's dabbled with a lot of genres. He's done poetry. He's also done a story on, not a story, but a non-fiction work on Madai. Madai Kaळजातल्यान Kagdar. Okay, it's not yet translated, no, sir? Okay, so that again, and he conducts a lot of treks. Here we have an author who's not writing from closed doors. He's writing from experience, from his own experiences. He's also written a novel called Puran. Now, if you ask me what is Puran, Puran is a kind of farming. Puran Sheti. Silt-based cultivation. And it's not just that he's written that novel in 15 days during the lockdown, sitting in Sattari, but he himself has revived this cultivation after almost more than a decade. Revived this cultivation there, taken Goa University students, including the Vice Chancellor, and they have gone there and they have worked in the fields and revived that cultivation on an experimental basis. So here is a man who has walked the talk, not just written from closed doors. Sir, first question to you, and we are all curious to know, is your tryst with this kind of literature which deals with the other side of Goa, far from those balmy beaches and those, those touristy spots, to a Sattari which is not heard of. How did you come across with this idea?
Namaskar. As told by the
Glenis.
Madam, that Sattari is a unique region. Why it is unique? Only thing is, if you want to visit a Sattari, you have to go there. You have to travel. Okay. But if you want to go to Kanguna, Petne or Bade is you don't do because there is a highway is there. And that uniqueness is because the five first five biggest mountain are there in that region. Take the example of Susagar, Katlachimari, Kumari, then we have other side Mallegarh, Wageri. These are the tallest mountains we have. And we have a lot of tributaries. And the main river which comes from the Karnataka, that's Madai, which originated in Nega area. And that's a unique place in the form of flora and fauna also. Usually they made the beds, rotten beds, which are unique. Otherwise you won't find in other place, only in that place. So these are the uniqueness of the that place. And second one, most of the villages are settled in a deep in the forest. आमच्याकडे कसे आहे कसं there's one village is called Kadwad. There is one story I've written on the
Forest sanctuary.
The forest sanctuary. Original title is Abhayaranya. There is a one village which has only one house. एकूच घर असतं. Still it is there. And it is now it is in a it comes under the Madai sanctuary. So there are 33 villages in Sattari which are actually in a forest area. It means Madai sanctuary. So there are a lot of problems. That's why earlier it was the forest was declared as a reserve forest. Now it has been declared as a sanctuary. You see that there is a and our social structure is quite different as compared to other talukas. We have Gaonkar systems. तुमको खबर असतली Gaonkar are the first settlers. They are the village heads. We have that because if you want to understand my or you want to know more about my stories, you have to try to understand this structure, social structure. आमच्याकडे Gaonkar असा. We have Gaonkar and Rohit. Rohit means what? Rohit means others. They मागे येऊन settle झाले ते. Those who come and then settle after the village setup. So that's why always there is conflict. So that's conflict असतं. किती असतं? There is a Gaonkar and the Rohit. So Rohit, I am actually the Rohit in my village. I don't have any rights in any rituals. I am not supposed to enter in a Gargokodas. I don't have it. Every ritual they have the rights. So there are Gaonkar, maybe there are 4 or 5 types of Gaonkar. Types in the families. Sattari Gaonkar, then Brahmini Gaonkar, Jogeshwar Gaonkar, then Kedvekar Gaonkar. These are the families and they have their own family gods. Sattari Gaonkar, Sattari is a goddess. Brahmani Gaonkar, Brahmini Devi is a family goddess. Then Kedvekar Gaonkar, Kedva is a family god. Ashi tarihne structure asतात. So that's what happened. That's why every time there is a conflict. Why there is a conflict? Because of they say that we are the village heads. आम्ही किती सांगता जे तुम्ही ऐकू जाय. Okay. And secondly, then other caste peoples are also there. Basically, आमच्याकडे Dangars are also there. Now they are settled. And Mahar community. Each and every major village there are Mahar community. Outside village and they settle the less. They are not actually the part of the actual village, but they are settled in outskirt of the village. So they are involved in beating the drums and bakije wazopak dinanga apayda sare. But there is a lot of caste discriminations. So my short story is actually I am actually from farmer family. Okay, I have worked in Puranjeti. And earlier, to 1970, there was a cultivation called shift-based cultivations. That is called Kumeri Kartale. My family used to do Kumeri. They used to go there to cut the trees and burn the trees and then the national Vitale. So there was a day. Even in my childhood, I know that my mother has at the age of I think 5 years, 4.5 years, and she went. And she stayed about 3.5 months in a jungle. This is actually the setup or structure, social setup. So that's why actually I have learned this as I'm a teacher also. I go and research, I go and involve. I have also actually go and stay in some of the villages. And last 27 years I am organizing a tracking program. This year we are organizing 21st and 22nd, 20th and 22nd of 21st of this month or next month. So I have actually seen each and every part of the Sattari. Each and every village I visited, and they know me by my name. So that's why this I have what I have written in my small book stories. I have put up in the end of story form.
So you're very right that it is through a conflict that these stories have arisen. Because sans a conflict, without a conflict, a narrative is not enriched. A narrative doesn't get the pull. In fact, his stories give a voice to the voiceless of Sattari. And as he has said, the Mahars, the despised communities. He has very rare communities which we have not heard of. The Vanarmaro community, the monkey slayers, the otter catchers. Have we heard of that in mainstream Goa? We haven't heard of that. You know, there are these migrant settlers. We refer to them as Gandhis. They come to catch otters. I don't know if you've heard of otters. They are very common, yeah, those little creatures who come during the monsoons, and they catch them to kill them for their fat. And their fat is used throughout the year, and they sell that fat and they make their living. So there's a story about these otter catchers, and it's called the trap. Okay, beautiful stories. The original Konkani is Ani te pot gyon gele. Ani te pot gyon gele. Pot is tummy. Okay, literally can be translated well as and they went away with our livelihoods, because the story ends with that the traps of these otter catchers have been taken away by the Gaonkars. Okay, so but the translator has beautifully given it a new twist, and she has renamed it as the trap, because the trap is actually entrapping their lives in this Gaonkari system, in this system where there is the haves and the have-nots. So most of Paryenkar's stories deal with this giving a voice to the voiceless, so as to say. The title story, if you call, the book is called The Bitter Fruit Tree, is a story which is originally called Kazro. Now what is Kazro? Kazro is the name of a tree. It has a bitter fruit. Everything about that tree is bitter. The bark, the leaves, the fruit, the flowers, everything about. So Kazro is this very local rustic tree which is, and Kazro is a tree. Now we were just talking, and he says it's a tree which is recurring like a motif in most of his stories. Most of his narratives, unknowingly, he is now realizing in retrospect that this Kazro, why is this bitter fruit tree? Why is this Kazro coming in most of his stories, this tree coming in most of his stories? He's talking about these embittered lives of these people. He's talking about these bitter fruits these people are harboring in their lives. Look at the first story. In fact, before reading the story, I have seen the film. It was telecast. It was screened at IFI a few years ago, and it's still going popularly. It's called Kazro. Okay, and it is talking about this man Tilgo, who is a Mahar. He's the last Mahar in the community, who's given one small hut, like a zopdi in the forest, and he is looking after his ailing wife. And she's so sick, he cannot afford to take her to Goa Medical College in Bamboli. He keeps saying, I know, I will take you, but he doesn't have the means. He has to make his living during the Shigmotsav by beating the drums. As he told you, only the Mahars can beat the drums. So his drummer is the perennial Tilgo, his name is Tilgo. And finally Gokhale dies, and there is not even a space to bury her. And she dies on the auspicious day of the Shigmo rituals. Dasara. And these Gaonkars say, oh my God, what a day to die. There is no place for her. And where is he going to take her? They are not giving her a place for burying her. So finally he takes her, and with great difficulty they allow her to be buried under the bitter fruit tree, the Kazro. And that's where the symbolism of the bitter fruit tree. And he talks to that dead body. He takes her along. He cannot, the movie also shows it. He cannot take her on the regular path because the temple rituals are going on. So he has to put her on the back because nobody has to carry the body. You need at least 4 people to carry a body. He has to take her alone, putting her like that, and takes her all the long way, wading through the water, crossing the river, and it's so painful to see that whole journey of Tilgot, and he's talking to Gokhale all the way. He's talking to Gokhale along the way, and the last lines are so beautiful, and I'd like to read them for you because this is a story which is so rife with this whole idea. He's saying, take a careful look at the vegetation in this forest, Gokhale. He's talking to the dead Gokhale. There are so many different types of plants growing here. The leaves and flowers and fruits and colors are varied, but they don't look upon each other as different. It is we human beings who emphasize the differences. Different types of plants grow in close proximity in the forest, but there is no strife. Human beings are different, caught up in the issues of caste. They are always ready to pick a fight. They threaten and curse, but that's enough. I'm gone on and on. You must be tired of my words. But I must tell you this, Gokhale. I begged the villagers for a patch of land to bury you in the village, but I failed. This will haunt me for the rest of my life. And he finds a gold coin in her hand. She had held it in her fist. That was the only precious thing he has. So he wonders, why is her fist hard? Her body has become stiff. And he opens it, he finds a gold coin. And he says, I will bury you with this gold coin. And symbolically, it's like I have bought this land with that gold coin. Because that's the only thing he has. So these are such pathos-evoking stories of Parienkar, which are so different from the mainstream stories which we read from Goa. So my second question to you is that most of these stories which are set in Sattari are speaking about communities which we have seldom heard about, particularly the Vanarmare from the story called Chandrakhor, which is translated as the crescent moon, or the otter catchers in a story called the Trap. Can you tell us more about these subaltern communities which we have not heard about in mainstream Goa?
This crescent moon, the original story title is
Chandrakhor.
Actually, Chandrakhor is a story is based on the Vanarmare. The monkey killers. Actually, earlier in childhood, they used to come every year and they used to kill the monkey. And they used to eat the monkey. Still, this community are there in Goa, in Niranka, Shiroda, the Sahitya Akademi. Because they used to come, and one day what happened, there is they have caught one armaro and they have written like anything. And then I wrote this story, one armaro. In that story, I got a national award, Katha Award, New Delhi in 2003. And it has been translated in English,
French,
also in French, Portuguese also, it is translated also in Kannada, Malayalam also it is translated. But this story, because these are all nomadic tribes. I have written also one story on Jani, titled Jani, on Dangar community. In my village there is a Dangar community is there, and I am very much known to this community. I am Shakta. Ba, Kunagata tu, Kazake, Barahake tu, Anjana Dangirwata, and I visit this place. Then there's Prakash Parienkar, Parka, Kasahatu, Kawaltatu, Tula Kava, Dudavakitula, Tagavakitula. But these are the community I know from my childhood. So I got one, this Jani. Actually, Jani is the cow offered to the god. देवाक उपतात ते त्यांना गोठो कमी जाता पळय न्ही तेन्ना they offer this and they want sell the milk also and तेका बरी करतात ती तेन्ना because nicely they
treat the cow.
So that's what happened. Actually I observed this community from my area. The one there Buddha Bud, one water catcher, and this Chandrakhor, where monkey killers. So, because this may be because of I observed very carefully this community, and Sometimes I take the points. Now I'm doing the videos also of that particular community. I go and see their houses, how they. You see that our community, they have a different culture. आमच्याकडे कितें आसा न्ही वी हॅव मनीस म्हणटकच आफ्टर डेथ आमी हें करतात न्ही आमी त्या जाळटात तेका ओके सो बट दीस कम्युनिटी दे आर नॉट दे आर बरींग द डेड बॉडी म्हणटकच दे fold person like this and they will keep the dead body sitting in sitting positions. The Dhangar communities are doing the same thing, and another one more community is there Gosai, Dhangar, and the Mahar community. Martakas them sitting position and they take the body like that only, and they bury the body in in sitting positions. So this I have seen from my childhood, the sitting positions. And what happened? Actually, this story, Kazuro, when they what they do after death of the other person, to wash the body. The full they wash the body, then they have put a new clothes. Then they have rituals also in front of Tulsi, and then they carry the body, and then they bury. But suppose white mandan marpachi concept is what we call that during the pregnancy or menstruation. That time what they do is very horrible. While martagas, they kick the body, परती उडयतात up and down. They carry the body up and down. म्हणजे सगळं तकली असतात त्याची.
Upside down.
Upside down, sorry. They carry like this, and they will bury the body not in a village area. They will take the body in a deep forest. They bury and they come. Bury कशी करतात खबर तुमका? It's very helpful. Only then they put cut what you call in English.
A kind of a sharpened bamboo with a sharpened edge.
Sharpened edge. They put one here, and one back side. They penetrate the body. Then they put a mud, and then they put a stone, and they come. See, this is the rituals are there. Actually, I have to mention this in my story actually, but this was very painful for me. I cried like anything while writing this story. खूप पडी रडला आम story मध्ये. These are the rituals are there. Somebody asked me the question here in Mumbai, in Mami, after screening this film. He said, "Is a caste discrimination in Goa?" I said, "What? Everywhere there is a discrimination. Not only in the caste, there is a discrimination. Religious level discrimination is everywhere is there. We have not. सगळीकडे असं आमच्याकडे कमी प्रमाणात असते. There are discriminations. असं आमच्याकडे नाही. आम्ही पळयता आता every day I see in my area at least. असं आमच्याकडे कळणार ते आमकां. But when I said there are n number of stories. Only you have to study and you have to write the story. So many other stories. खूप असतात असे. So that's why what's happened actually. This is because I have experience and I want to give the voice to the voiceless. This is my commitment as a writer. That's all.
I think this is a commendable thing which Sir Parienkar is doing, giving his voice to the voiceless, because otherwise nobody knows about these things. Another very interesting thing is that these stories were written long ago. They were written in the last century actually.
From
1990s onwards they were written, and they were not they were published in Zag, and for the first time just about 2.5 years back he has published it as a collection in Konkani called Varsal. And now this year the Bitter Fruit Tree is published in English. But interestingly, the English translation has garnered a lot of reviews. At least 10 plus reviews, sir. 13 reviews in international, at international levels as well. The Scroll, 3 Navin Times, our local newspapers have carried it widely. The Outlook, Frontline, amazing coverage for this, and that has brought him in the limelight. Precisely because of the translation. So we have to give credit to the English translation, because English becomes a bridge language to take a regional text from Konkani, which many people internationally and regionally, at different parts in India will not know, and then it will go to other languages, in translation, and many people will have access to these cultures. So translation becomes a bridge. So I want to ask you, how has the English translation taken you places?
Vidya Pai has translated my story, first story in 1998 and published in Goa today. My three of them, Kazakh Pearl is one, the first story. Then they have translated Vatsal also, and then Mahabali, Sacrifice. These are the story. At the beginning she has translated, and later on she has translated other stories also. Yes, because she has translated about 18 stories till date in English. But before that, even my stories have been translated in Hindi also by Dr. Katen, then Dr. Mishra. He has translated 6 of my stories. Even so, one of the stories has been translated in Urdu also. And one thing is, when the stories goes in English, there are a lot of leadership. You get phone calls also. And also, actually, my three stories are translated in Malayalam. In Malayalam, what's that? My one of the story translated and published in Mathrubhumi. I got more than 33 crores. This also only happens in Malayalam. I don't know how they react like anything. Okay, so and some of the stories translated in Kannada, even Odia also. When my story first published in Samakalin Bharatiya Sahitya, is published by Sahitya Akademi, that's Supta Mamta, Monel Maya. Which also, Monel Maya also there is they have made a...
Monel Maya is silent affection.
Silent affection. Yes, it has been translated as Supta Mamta. And after publishing in Samakalin Bharatiya Sahitya, immediately after 15 days, I got a call from Odia, and it is translated in Odia language. But Hindi is one very powerful language where the other Indian readers they read. And English, I got very surprised. Within 4 to 5 months, only 13 reviewers come. 5 of them are from Goa, and the rest of one the Hindus also, the statements. I have not only heard also this magazine. Cannot vichar karuna this magazine also. And Biblio also is now in Biblio also one review is coming. So there's good response from because of translations. That credit goes to my translator Vidya Pai.
And there's a beautiful way in which she has translated. One has to acknowledge Vidya's effort. Let me tell you something about Vidya Pai. Vidya Pai is not exactly a Goan. She's a Mangalorean, but she's settled in Kolkata. She's very familiar with Konkani, particularly in the Devanagari script. But she's not familiar with the culture and traditions of Goa. So her initial translations, if you look at them, like a novel like Achev, which she translated as The Upheaval by Punlik Naik, she couldn't translate and she omitted the poetry. It was very difficult for her to translate, but yet she did a fantastic job as a first timer. And over the years, more than a decade that she's translating, close to 20 years now that she's translating, she has risen to such a level, she has uplifted her benchmark and she is bettering herself, challenging herself to do better and better. Because I have seen how her translations have just given a new, facelift to herself, to her own work. She challenges herself. Her first translation, one of the translations of Sir's stories is Mahabali. Maha is huge, supreme, and Bali is sacrifice. So Mahabali is a story here. She is retranslating it and reworking on her own translation, and she's calling it the sacrifice. She's removed the word supreme. She has translated Varsal as Varsal. It was published in English, and here it is coming as the drum. She does not retain that word Varsal. Now, what is the meaning of Varsal? Varsal is Varas, annual tradition of the Shigmo rituals, in which the Mahar community is designated, particularly the male of the Mahar community. Each family is given in turns the rights to play the drum, and when they play the drum, they get a lot of offerings from the Gaunkars in terms of coconuts, rice, and that sustains them for the entire year. Because as he told you, the Mahars are a pocket of ostracized people in the villages of Sattari, where they are away from the mainstream portions of the village. To talk to a Mahar, you have to talk from a distance. Hurry, come here, and when you give them offering, you cannot touch them. Different utensils to give them water, different utensils, when you're offering them, you have to pour it from a distance, because they believe that they will pollute the higher castes. So this kind of traditions are still going on. And these Mahars have internalized their subaltern status. They have internalized, they themselves will not go. Even though they are educated now, they have internalized it over the years. Okay, so this is the sad reality of Goa, which he's picturing. Now, in the story, the Varsal, which is translated as the drum here, there is a young boy called Madhu. And Madhu knows that his father has been beaten to death in the very baton of the drum by the Gaunkars for over a small issue. So he has lost his father. The Gaunkars have beaten him to death. So when the turn comes, his widowed mother tells him, "It's your turn, Madhu. There is no other male in this family. You have to go and beat the drum." And he's a school-going boy. He's in the higher secondary or something like that. 10th standard. Okay. So he says, "No, I'm not going to go." He refuses to play to go and do the Varsal tradition. Why? Because I have seen my father being beaten to death. I don't want to submit myself. Who has taught you to speak like this? I have read my books. So the books become a symbol of empowering him. Education has empowered him to resist these atrocities. Okay, and so you say that if he is not going to do the Varsal, how are they going to feed themselves for the entire year? So they are basket weavers. The Mahars, they weave baskets. They make those cane baskets and lot of other wicker things. So here, at the end of the story, when he refuses to go, the tradition is that if one family refuses, it will go to the other family. The other family, again, there is a character called Tilgo there, once again. So the characters' names also repeat. There's a lot of intertextuality, interestingly, which perhaps he's not aware that he's using similar names. And Tilgo is again another drummer. Okay, and Tilgo is another the main character in the bitter fruit tree. Okay, so you see there is when Madhu, the story ends, and Madhu quietly goes and starts doing the wicker baskets. What is that symbolizing? That I will continue my tradition of doing baskets. We will survive anyhow, and with my education and my traditional occupation, we will carry on with our lives. But we will not submit to these Gaunkars who do not respect us as humans. This is the voice of this young boy, and the voice is given by the author. So the author uses the character to give this voice.
Actually, is a real story. It's happened in my Sattari village of Sattari. Almost 70-80 years back, and till date they are not getting the terms. And Madhu is a real character. He still is there. He's doing a job now. And Parvati also, she is a real character.
She expired, you said.
Expired for almost 1.5 months back. So, and secondly, I want to tell you that when she is translating my stories, recently she has translated one of the stories called Vanamanus. And sometime also she Atika Kazlo Kalta Tikata, one of the wild trees. Then other trees like Kumio, or maybe second one is Kinzer, Nano. These are all wild trees from this area, my area. because they कळलं ते what is that
equivalent, yeah, equivalent
so
of
what
those.
I'm doing, I'm sending her this type of videos. Then even this is the one. Yeah. See, आम्ही त्याका काय म्हणतात वनमानूस. So I'm sending her this type of photos, then videos, even these trees. This mudder. This is a mudder concept. Mudder means is a grassland. आम्ही कोकणीत त्याका मडळ म्हणतात. You will get a patch, a green patch of grasslands, where actually you would find in top of the mountain. So तिका कळणार ते. She can't understand what is a mudder. So I am sending this type of photos to her. This की बंद घे, see. कळणार तिका. So I am sending these photos. And त्याचे मागीर अशें असतात. This is bunch of banana. So I am sending this type of photos to her. This kumi also. I am sending this Kumio's photos also, and also I am sending videos also to him. So there is a Kumio. So this is actually otherwise she is sending a list of the words, and then I will send an English version of that particular words. I will discuss with the son.
But actually you cannot use the botanical name for the words in the text, because when you use a botanical name, it just kind of dissociates the reader from the real experience. So what she does is she revels in untranslatability and celebrating it. So so she keeps and retains the old name. She has retained Kazro, and she uses what one of the theorists calls it as thick translation. So she'll say Kazro, the bitter fruit tree. So she retains the Konkani word, and then she'll say, Varsal, the annual drum beating tradition of Shigmo. So she uses this. She does not use glossary anymore, because glossary can be very disturbing to the reader. You have to go down and then see that original word, what is the meaning, then come back. You lose the flow of the reading in the translation. So she uses this technique called thick translation, which has become a part of her way of translating. Now it's very beautiful the way she writes. But with regards to translating Pariekar's stories, there is this problem that you cannot translate some elements. You cannot translate a thing like Varsal. She has called it the drum, but I am not very happy with it, because the drum is just an instrument. It's not bringing out that whole tradition of Varsal. It's so untranslatable. But Varsal, the drum would have been okay, or the Varsal tradition or something like that. But Varsal is in itself is the thing. Like words like Suhasin, Varsal, Shigmo, you do not get equivalents. You do not get English equivalents, because it is unfamiliar in English. Sir, I have another question for you. Can you tell me that in your stories, it's not just humans, but animals are battling for spaces, trees are battling for spaces, natural elements like water, because there's a story called Water, which is again becoming like a character there. How do you negotiate with these very natural elements, and which makes your text a very potent text for researchers who are working on eco-criticism? Because I know that a friend of mine, Akshata Bhatt, has used your stories for her thesis on eco-criticism, which is combining nature and literature together. Can you just speak about that?
Actually, I am very much connected to environmental things, because I am there when one member of Madhavacharya, I joined in 1998. Okay. And secondly, I am very much cautious about environment. I am also writes on environmental issues. If you refer my book, the Madhe Kazatlen Kagda, I have written a lot of things about flora and fauna of that particular region. तुमको खबर असेल, there is very popular two waterfalls are there. One is Dudsagar, and दुसरा आम्ही आणि खंयचो हांगातलो घेतात आमचो अरवळे. But I have identified more than 33 waterfalls. I have given photographs, I have described like anything. I have seen that. So there are more than 33 waterfalls. There are many more, and mostly they are activated in during the rainy season. This Poyamazar is a what सगळ्यात व्हडलो waterfall on Made Valley. Poyamazar then सगळ्यात सितोडाचं waterfall is the biggest one. So these are the actually I am very much connected to that, and also what happened in this also इकडे बिगडी तिकडे that actually tree speaks. एक झाडच उलयता भितर. Okay, so because and there is a one dialogue is there in कोंकणी असो आसा तो. तुम्ही आता घरा वयतना ह्या वाटेन सकयल वयतना तुमकां एक वॉटरफॉल दिसतलो, तेजो आवाज आयकुपाक येवचो. सॉरी, तो दिसचो ना तुमकां, पूण तेजो आवाज आयकुपाक येतलो. पूण ह्या रानांत कितलीशीं झाडां आवयच्या रुपान उबीं आसात, तेजें पान लेगीत तोडूं नाका, तांकां दुखतलें. ओके, यू डोंट टेक एनी एका पानाक पासून दूख दिवं नाका, असो एक डायलॉग. बिकॉज हांव I got surprised. Oh, dialogue कसा आयलो काय म्हणून. How it came? Because I am very much committed to the environment. I am very environment conscious. You won't see in Mahabali also. Mahabali where निमाणे कडेन होळी मारून हाडटात आनी मागीर तो कॅरेक्टर एक मारता आनी होळी रिच्युअल्स बंद पडटा. निमाणे एक डायलॉग हांवें घेतला, असो आसा कोंकणींतल्यान ओरिजिनल. एक सुटकी झड गांवभर फाकली आणि खोशयाळे वारे रानभर फाकले. रानाक आनंद जाता, रान खोशेनी. बिकॉज यू सी इन आवर सत्तरी देर आर मोर देन 60-65 villages. Each and every villages every year they put a two holi. Holi means big tree, kokum tree or mango tree. Every year, see 60 into 2, 120 trees every year. It's painful actually.
So I'll just explain this to them. Did you understand what he's saying? If you didn't, let me tell you. The holy rituals, what you celebrate in North India or any part of India, different in Sattari. Sattari, it means that you have to cut trees. In each village there are 2 trees which are cut. One is a mango tree.
Yeah, both are the mango.
Both are the mango. Yeah, 2 trees per village. So if there are about say 60 villages, 60, then 60 into 2 is 120 trees are cut for every.
They are all fruit giving trees. See.
And they are not fruit giving.
And
they are fruit giving trees. So in this particular story, the sacrifice Mahabali, actually originally she had translated it as the supreme sacrifice, but here she translates here as the sacrifice. She has kept the titles very crisp. And in this there is this character called Barkelo and his wife. They have gone out, leaving their 2 children back home, and their rights. They are rights. No, they are not Gaonkars.
No, they are not right.
They are rights. Rights are settlers, like how Sir says he is a right. So they have targeted their mango tree, and his little daughter has just watered that mango tree. There is a jasmine around that mango tree. There are small little tendrils around it. There are a lot of birds with nests on them. So what he is doing is he is giving these minute descriptions about the biodiversity around that mango tree. It is such a beautiful mango tree, and it had sustained them because they would sell the mangoes, make pickle out of the raw mangoes which were fallen, and they were very delicious fruit. And when Barkelo is away, these youth target their tree, and without his permission they cut that tree for the Shigmo rituals. Imagine the plight of that little girl who has just watered the jasmine around it and the trees and all the other porsu and those other orchards. Even the orchard is destroyed because the whole tree falls in their garden. Everything around it. There's a bird which flutters because his nest is destroyed. So you see the biodiversity with one tree cutting. And he's very sensitive to those small things. And in eco-criticism, we look at the biodiversity of how literature, through the pen of the writer, is going to amplify this whole world of nature to make us sensitive to these small things which are happening. How tradition is hacking nature. And he is evoking our thoughts towards it. He's making us think about these rituals. Are these rituals eco-friendly or they are eco-destructive? And through Barkelo's character, he is taking us forward. When Barkelo comes, you think you are going to keep quiet when your tree is destroyed in your absence, and your tree that you have nurtured, you have manured, you have taken care of, and your hapless children are looking at them and crying. that all, and the mangoes have fallen, the small mangoes which were, and so he goes to fight with the boys. The boys come on him like swarms of bees, and they attack him and they beat him, and there's a scuffle, and the end is very painful. The tree, which is supposed to be the Shigmo sacrifice tree, and Barkelo is laying down both as the supreme offering, but the last line is something that will tear you. The last line says, the trees around in the forest heaved a sigh of relief, because after that ritual stopped. So somebody had to die. And doesn't it happen on our roads or in our fields? When somebody dies, only then the authorities awaken. So somebody has to die. So that is the supreme sacrifice. That is the Mahabali. He's opening our eyes. His end lines are they are like arrows which pierce you, and they open your eyes to a new kind of a realization. Sir, there is another story, and called Jani. Jani is about the cow. There again, he is making this cow as a character, and the cow is giving birth in that story. That intricate detail of the cow giving birth. So his stories are dealing with nature, every aspect of nature. There's another story called The Water, wherein a woman called Gokhale is battling to keep the Khadpi Bai. Khadpi Bai is the spring, the water which comes through the springs of a rocky well, and people are wanting to bury that well because there is a road which is going to come over it. So, and she says, no, do not rely on the taps, because the taps may run dry. We need this springed well, which is a part of which is something that our ancestors gave us. And she says, no, we have to preserve it. And the villagers do not listen. Why do you want? The taps are coming, the PWD minister has come. And what happens at the end of the story is that people are queuing for water. They have buried this well and there is no water in the village. And Gokhale says, I had warned you. And she's a widow. I had warned you. So through characters like Gokhale, through Audu, these characters, they are like the conscience keepers. And coincidentally, they are all women. They are conscience keepers of a society who is dead to these eco-destructive ways of mankind, which has permeated just for materialistic gains, for commercial endeavors. So these are some of the stories which are very thought-provoking, which stir you from within. They are not ordinary stories about the swaying breeze and the lapping waves on the Kalangut beach and the tourists in bikinis. No, he is not looking at that side of Goa. He is looking at a Goa which is hitherto unexplored by any writer. We do not know this side of Goa till Parienkar comes into the picture, and this is what I say, and that is why I find him, a treat to a researcher who wants to see a side of Goa, who wants to use his stories for eco-critical studies. And kudos to him that we are aware of this side of Goa. So the last story, the Abhayaranya, which is translated as the forest sanctuary, is again based on a real incident. So please tell us more about it.
Madhayavarna declared in the year 2005. Okay. So what happened? The village like Kadwad, where there is only one house. They buy like Kadwad Kadin. Now she is no more. But three of the son are still staying in that village. Secondly, there is Karanjol village, Kadridar village, Kumthal village, Bondir village. These are the villages from the Sawadem Sattari village area, Panchayat area. So what happened actually, once it is a forest department officer, they went and asked them, you have to shift, because only one house is there. You have to shift in other village. So government will give the compensations. So she said, why want to shift? What is the reason? No, this here the Yazala, Abhayaranya Zala. Abhayaranya म्हटलं की ते मग खबर ना. ती सांगतात का because she is unbuddy, she is a खबर ना. अभयारण्य म्हटलं की ते मग खबर ना. अभयारण्य means the forest is protected and now the लोकांनी रावपाक जायना. So you have to shift you have to shift. So then this land is belong to us. See, this is Sattari temple is there. My family goddess temple is here. Then there is a आमची हांगा शेत आसा this ours. See, this ते सांगता एक माड आमचो आसा, then आमच्या jackfruit tree. सगळे आमचे आसा ना. Why want to shift? I don't want to shift. Then there's this real story. मागीर ते सांगले, if you have any documents with you, तर चल्याक सांगता, please go and see that in trunk is there on top. Then you see that there is a document is there. So he climb up and he see that there is no document. But we know that in 1972 there is a survey was conducted by state government. And त्यांच्या गावात कोण पावूंकच ना. Survey is not rich. वचूंकच ना they. Then they realize that land is belong to them, but there is no documents till date. No documents. So this actually story told by my elder brother Ganesh. Then I went. Actually, I have seen that village. I went and I studied the whole what has happened, and even I interviewed the other villagers, Karanjol, and then I wrote this story. Now what's happened? They have put the board on the Karanjolcha Simecha, that is entrance. No entrance from the forest department. It is there. Board is there. And now they are modern organizations and they are not allowing any officer in that area, particular area. I don't know what will happen next, because now they wanted to declare the tiger corridors. If it is happened, then this all 33 villages they have to shift. I don't know where they will shift this full families or kitne log asa, more than more than 300 odd families. So does the little. So this actually is what is happening in our village. But nobody has brought about this what is happening in the forest areas. त्यांचे sentiments किती त्यांका किने दिसता. Because they say that this is our ancestor land. आमची म्हणजे कितली वर्सां शेकड्याने वर्सां जाली. More than 500 to 600, 700 years. आमचे सगळे देव आसा, सगळे आमचे कडेन आसा. Now the forest officer is saying that you have to shift. So that's why this is a very important story.
So the character Avdhu here becomes a kind of an eco-patriot. She is voicing out the fact that just documents are going to prove that we've been living here. Our generations have thrived in this forest. Now, just because the survey department didn't realize that there is only one house in the village, that's not our fault that they have not surveyed this house, We have our fields, we've used it for the last so many years and generations, and we cannot prove it. And the last part of the story is that she wants to go out and make a point and get her documents and get everything, and she does not return back. Where has she gone? Has the forest swallowed her? Where is she gone? This vast forest which is here, Aranya. Aranya means forest. Where has this woman gone? So the kind of forest itself is questioning. There's a voice, a kind of an omnipresent voice which is speaking, a narratorial voice, some kind of a voice is speaking. Where has it gone? Where has she gone? So Avdhu becomes a voice for people who are subalterns, who are marginalized, who are on the fringes of society, who want to assert their rights to the land they have been living for so long, and just because they are uneducated, they are being taken for granted.